Hello everybody, this is the iFan channel here, and today I'm going to go to Belgrade and stay there for about 2 nights. Basically, I did have to book another bus ticket, unfortunately, which does make me lose money, but I'm still talking with my bank to have the issue resolved, to basically get my money refunded from tomorrow's supposed bus. So basically, I'm currently in a bus in Sarajevo and trying to get to the bus station, basically the East Sarajevo bus station, to get all the way to Belgrade. Okay guys, after a while I did arrive at the bus station. I'm not sure if my bus to Belgrade is shown here, but I'll take a look at it. Okay guys, I'm currently on the bus now. I'm going to see you guys in Belgrade. After nearly 8 hours of what feels like an eternity, I finally arrived in Belgrade, and I'm currently in a new city now. Basically, as you can see, there are a lot of new skyscrapers, kind of like in Boston and Cambridge. Basically, this, I do believe, is a gentrified neighborhood to some extent, and it really does. Basically, you just see Kennel Square-ish and Assembly Row skyscrapers here, which is quite cool for a city like this. Basically, like, placelessness now exists. Basically, I could not even tell if this is Boston or if this is Belgrade, except maybe the language and maybe certain other attributes. But this neighborhood basically looks like many US neighborhoods. After departing the bus station, I finally arrived at this restaurant, which is actually called Black George. Now they actually do accept cards, which is lucky, because I don't want to have to print too much cash or I don't know how to use or what to use it for. So here it is. This is essentially my vegetable burger. I'm actually going to eat, and then I'm going to go to the ATM to get some money so I could go to the hotel and pay with cash, because this hotel is actually a cash only hotel, unfortunately. After dinner, why not I just returned to the hotel to leave my bag so I could basically go to the center of Belgrade. Basically, this is what Belgrade looks like. It is quite amazing. Basically, unfortunately, there are no mountains, but there is a European style city, basically. And fun fact, Belgrade is the capital of all of Yugoslavia. Basically, the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, as well as the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia during communism. And Belgrade is still the capital and largest city of Serbia. So basically, I'm going to wait for streetcar 11 to return to the hotel. But as you can see, you do see some older streetcars here. I do believe this is from the 20th century, just like many of the MBTA streetcars. Sorry, I did mean some, like the Ashman Matapan one. Okay guys, I'm currently on a streetcar now. This is actually the streetcar, basically streetcar 2. I did check streetcar 2 does take me to the hotel, so hence I actually used streetcar 2 rather than streetcar 11. I just got off the streetcar and now I'm gonna head to the hotel. And in my opinion, I do believe Belgrade is basically similar to Warsaw. Basically, I do love Warsaw because things are quite affordable. There are a lot of hotel options. But I do believe Warsaw has more chain hotel options, such as B&B hotels and Ibis and stuff. But in reality, both cities do have great histories and stuff, and a lot of well-known people. And basically are both very big cities. So I do put Belgrade in similar footing to Warsaw, but why not? I'm just going to look for a hotel. Basically, after some time trying, I finally arrived to my hotel room, and this does look like a classic 90s or even 80s room here. Basically, you do have some modern amenities as well as some more classic touches. And basically, this is actually the outside. Luckily, it is sort of ground level, as you can see. But I'm gonna close the windows to not be cold during the night. And here it is, the restroom here. And as you can see, this is actually a washer. I wish yesterday I did not do the laundry, but then I have no clean clothing, so I basically had to. As you can see, this is actually the shower here and toilet. Basically, I'm gonna sleep here for 2 nights, which is quite cool. And here is the Wi-Fi, so I'm just gonna enjoy here. Okay guys, good morning. I'm actually going to go outside and I'm going to eat some lunch. Basically, I do have to go to the carrier store first, the MTS, to actually get a SIM card for 600 dinars. Sorry, did open the door too much. But as you can see, this is actually the outside in Belgrade in Serbia. basically akin to Warsaw, but a bit less developed, because I do think there are a lot of amenities, and also the hotels and food and stuff are quite affordable. So basically here it is, Belgrade here, much more developed than Sarajevo in Bosnia, however. Basically now I'm on a bus, and it definitely looks a lot more modern than some of the streetcars I've ridden, but I heard there are many streetcars in Belgrade which are modern, just like the ones in the META, of which the Green Line is quite modern. Basically they're like €5 Green Line trains, and some like the trolley in Ashmont is really old, like around 80 years old. So why not, I'm gonna see you guys when I get my SIM card. After buying a SIM card at this counter rather than the MTS, because the MTS did kick me out because they say it's closed, I finally arrived in the city center. I'm not even sure if this is really a metro or if this is just an underground shopping center. But basically, Belgrade is a lot more cosmopolitan than Sarajevo or Mostar. Basically, the counter over there, they do accept credit card. Yes, credit card. Finally. Because in Bosnia, I do have to like bring a lot of cash with me just to survive. But in Belgrade, basically just like any modern European city, accepts credit card. Basically many countries in the EU even have cash culture. In fact, Sweden is the first cashless country in the world, having been cashless since like last year. But in reality, like Germany and stuff, Italy still have cash culture. But in these countries I have really no problem using card, because I could actually smoothly use card throughout these countries, even in cash countries. Basically only in Bosnia, where I like essentially have to use cash for much of my purchases and stuff. But in reality, like even the cash culture countries still accept card in many places. Now, due to the fact I'm quite hungry, I actually bought this. This basically cost $5.50. At Chipotle, this would have been a $10 meal. But this is also quite a hip restaurant, basically much better than McDonald's. McDonald's do sell Big Macs, but they're quite expensive, basically 500 dinars. This is actually 600 dinars, which is quite affordable, but for a much better meal than like a Big Mac. So why not, I'm actually going to eat, and then I'm going to go around Belgrade. Basically a more bustling city than really anything in Bosnia. Okay guys, after eating lunch, I'm actually going to go to my first tourist attraction. I'm actually going to get to the Republic Square of Belgrade, which is essentially kind of like the main square. And then I'm actually going to go to one of the main streets of Belgrade. Okay guys, it does tell me to go straight to go to Republic Square, but here it is. Techno Media, basically the equivalent of Best Buy in Serbia. Basically in Europe you do have Media Markt as well as Saturn and stuff. But here is actually this, which I do believe is a Best Buy equivalent, at least in Serbia. So why not, I'm actually going to go to the Republic Square, and I'm going to show you guys what it is. Basically over here is actually the Republic Square over here. This is in the municipality of Stari Grad, and this is essentially the city center. This over here is actually the Narodni Museum, basically the National Museum of Serbia. I'm going to enter the National Museum now and show you guys what it is inside. Basically this will be the center of all of Belgrade. One fun fact is Vuka Draskovića actually proposed to rename this square as the Freedom Square rather than the Republic Square, due to the fact in 1991 there was actually a protest, a pro-democracy protest, to actually oust Slobodan Milosevic from being the president of Yugoslavia. If you don't know who Slobodan Milosevic is, he was basically a war criminal. He was actually indicted by the ICTY, by the ICC, and he actually died during his trial in court whilst being indicted for genocide and war crimes. I'm currently leaving the museum after nearly 2 hours of visiting, and unfortunately I could not record, but this museum only costs around 300 dinars. Basically a little less than $3, but it includes a lot of stuff. In fact, it actually functions as an art museum effectively. Basically, like this Narodni Museum does cover the history of Serbia all the way from like the Paleolithic era all the way into the Roman era, and basically like the medieval era, as well as even the Renaissance and early modern era, and it actually covers like Serbian art all the way from the 14th to 20th century. And fun fact, it even covers European art, so why not? I'm actually going to do a narration afterwards to explain what everything's all about. Now in the beginning you would actually start with the Paleolithic era, and here are some artifacts from the Paleolithic era. Here are some artifacts from the Neolithic era, and of course you could actually see a house from the Neolithic era in Serbia. And here's some more pottery and artifacts from Neolithic. And of course, as you guys know, Serbia did get conquered by both the Greeks and the Romans. And of course, Serbia did transform, and Christianity soon was introduced to Serbia in about the 4th century AD. And over here is some of the older currency during the Roman ages, and here's some newer currency during the 19th, 20th, and 21st. And of course, Serbia did get conquered by the Slavs during the Middle Ages, and by the 12th and 13th century AD, Serbia did go to become a powerhouse in the Balkans. And by the 14th, 15th, that's when Serbia started to decline. And over here is some Renaissance art from Serbia. And of course, Serbia did get conquered by the Ottomans. And as you can see, Serbia did sort of grow again under the Habsburg dynasty. And here's some Baroque art. And of course, these are 19th century art in Serbia. And over here is the Egyptian section of the museum. And this is actually medieval art in Europe. And of course, Renaissance art in Europe, as Serbia does have a European art museum. This is 17th century, 18th century, 19th century. And Serbia also includes a 20th century European art exhibition. But if you were to go outside of the National Museum, you would actually see Kneza Mihaila, which is actually one of the main streets of Belgrade. It is actually located in a Skadarlija municipality, just like the Republic Square. And this basically is around 790 meters long, but it includes a lot of shops and stuff. So why not? I'm actually going to show you guys what it is. But as you can see, there are a lot of nice buildings around here, just like in much of Europe. Now I just entered Kneza Mihaila, and over here is one fountain, and over there is essentially another fountain. Basically, this is the street over here. Basically, you can find a lot of shops and stuff, and it is actually protected as one of the most valuable landmarks in all of Belgrade, despite the fact this is just a street, not really anything else. I do believe this is akin to essentially downtown Crossings, Washington Street or something. Basically, this street will be named after Mihailo Obrenović III, basically the Prince of Serbia, and many of the buildings here are basically built during the 19th century, but some sources do say 790 meters, others do say 1 kilometer long, but whatever. It is basically included in the spatial, cultural, historical units of great importance, and basically because of it, it is actually being protected as a landmark in Serbia. But because of its importance during the 20th century, it has been basically dedicated to pedestrians, just like many other European streets. So instead of seeing cars and motorcycles and stuff, you just see pedestrians and maybe some bikes. I'm now walking through Kneza Mihaila, and as you can see, despite the fact you just see some like Renaissance as well as neoclassical and Baroque style buildings, as well as basically any 19th century buildings, you could see 20th century buildings as well. Basically, I do believe this was actually built during socialism. Essentially, look at the facade here. You can tell it's kind of like renovated or even built during socialism. But as you can see, this is what the street looks like. I'm now looking for another place to visit. In fact, even with some of the Yugoslav looking buildings, this is still one of the most beautiful streets in all of the Balkans, essentially. As you can see, there are a lot of nice buildings around. However, there's no like nice modernistic buildings. It's mainly nice, but maybe 19th century-esque buildings. But basically at the end, you would actually see a shopping center. Basically, it is called the Ružica shopping mall. And why not, I'm actually gonna walk to there and show you guys. Okay guys, it did walk some while, and over here it does show Zgrada Sanu, as well as Captain Elisa's edifice and Kolorak Foundation. but I'm not planning to go to these. Instead, I'm just planning to go to the shopping mall first before maybe going to the Nikola Tesla Museum. And maybe if I have time tomorrow, I'll spend time in Belgrade until about 1:50 when I do have to hit the bus to Skopje in Macedonia. Basically the poorest of all ex-Yugoslav republics. So basically in this trip I have visited all 6 Yugoslav republics, with the exception of the 7th, which is Kosovo. Kosovo did gain independence, but it is not recognized by many countries and is not a UN member. In fact, many countries do consider Kosovo to be part of Serbia instead. But as you can see, this is actually what the Kneza Mihaila looks like. It's quite nice around here, so I'm just going to look for a mall. I'm now basically at the end of Kneza Mihaila, and here is Ružica shopping center. Basically this shopping center was opened like only 7 years ago. Basically it is quite young compared to other shopping centers and is one of the main shopping centers in all of Belgrade. But as you can see, I'll show you guys what the shopping center looks like in a sec. Over here it is, the Ružica shopping center. There's actually a hotel called Mama Shelter, which is even bigger, but this shopping center was actually opened in 2017. Basically construction started in 2019, and in 2003, before construction, the trolley buses were actually removed from the location. Basically architectural competition for this actually started in year 2000. Yes, so basically very recently. And basically like there was actually building a house of politician Toma Vučić Beričić, which was actually destroyed in 1950, and then the trolley buses were built in this location. But then after the trolley buses were removed, this mall was being built. Basically you do have a shopping mall here, so I'm gonna show you guys inside. Basically this is the inside of the mall. As you can see, it is quite a modernistic feel. It is very nice inside. Basically very beautiful in fact, but you would actually see a lot of stores as well as restaurants. In fact, I even saw McDonald's, and I do believe a Maxi supermarket. So why not, I'm actually going to get some water to hydrate myself during this hot weather of 25 degrees Celsius. I'm now in the basement where you can actually see a DM store. Basically it is sort of a pharmacy but also sort of a supermarket at the same time. And over here is the Maxi supermarket. Now there's actually a supermarket of the same name, I believe, in Quebec, Canada, but I'm not too sure if it's that one specifically. Basically I got out of the Maxi supermarket, and over here I bought this. Basically this for only 40 dinars, which is less than 40 cents, which is crazy affordable. Essentially now I'm going to go up, but basically in Croatian stuff as well as Bosnia, like I paid like at least 75 cents for the same amount of water. After a 5 to 10 minute break to maybe recharge at the mall, I'm finally going to leave the mall. And since the Belgrade Fortress and the Ružica Church are very close, why not, I'm actually going to walk to the Belgrade Fortress. And over here is the Belgrade Fortress. Basically that is the Ružica shopping center, and the Belgrade Fortress is actually free to enter, and it does consist of the citadel in the upper and lower part of the town. It was actually built as early as 275 BCE, and Justinian I was actually one of the people who actually renovated the Belgrade Fortress after it was first built in 275 BCE. This whole fortress is 66 hectares. Basically it includes a whole park as well as even a church in here. In fact, this whole park's name is actually Kalemegdan Park. Over here is what the park looks like, and it is absolutely massive. Basically because the Belgrade Fortress is free, hence it is the most visited attraction in all of Belgrade, with an estimated 2 million visitors yearly. Basically at the end of a ridge of the Šumadija geological feature, 125.5 meters up, is where the Belgrade Fortress is. It has been reconstructed several times, just like I said. One of the people who actually reconstructed the Belgrade Fortress was actually King Justinian I of Byzantine in 535 AD. And for some reason in the park, the Kalemegdan Park, I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong, in here there's actually a burger festival, so you can actually buy many burgers and stuff. Over here I don't know which accepts mobile payments, but as you can see there are a lot of burgers for sale around here. Basically over there will be the Belgrade Fortress with the flag of Serbia being shown. And as you can see over there, if you were to see over here, it is actually the monument of gratitude to France. Basically, this gratitude to France monument was actually erected in 1930 and was actually visited by the Yugoslav king at the time. And why not, I'm actually going to enter the Belgrade Fortress. I'm now in the outer part of the fortress. Basically over there are the walls and stuff, and if you could see, that is the castle. I'm actually going to head towards the castle now, and over here is the park. It is absolutely scenic from here. Basically over there is going to be New Belgrade, I believe so. And if you were to see down there, not only does it show you guys the New Belgrade, it also shows you guys River Sava, which is the longest tributary of the Danube. It basically spans throughout the Balkans from Slovenia all the way to Croatia, into Serbia, and it is essentially 1,000 kilometers long. As you guys see, the Belgrade Fortress starts all the way there, and it ends all the way here. It is incredibly massive. In fact, I'm actually going to try to get up there, but it also includes a military museum as well, but it does cost money, so I'm not sure if I'm able to go to the military museum. Now over here are the stuff you would expect to see inside the Belgrade Fortress. You could actually see casemates, Stamboul Gate, Nebojša Tower, Roman Well, Baroque Gate, Sahat Tower, I believe so, military bunker, as well as the large gunpowder magazine. Basically, I'm inside the gates for the Belgrade Fortress up there. I'm actually going to go up, and basically during the evening, I'm thinking of eating at Skadarlija, which is actually a major street in Belgrade, similar to Kneza Mihaila. Now basically in here is actually the Roman well. I'm not sure how much money it costs, but as you can see, these are the hours of the Roman well here. Unfortunately, like even though it does cost 100 RSD, which is a bit less than $1, the Roman well only accepts cash. And ironically, the Roman well was actually constructed at the time of Austrian rule. Yes, Austrian rule. Not Roman rule. It was actually during Austrian rule in the 1720s. Now if you go a bit further, you would actually see the Institute for the Protection of Cultural Monuments of Belgrade, which was actually built in the beginning of the 20th century, but did suffer significant war attack, and therefore was actually reconstructed in this so-called Tudor style over here. Basically this was what the building originally looked like, but since 1937 it actually housed the history military museum. So why not, I'm actually going to go to the military museum over here and show you guys what it's all about. Unfortunately, this is not the military museum. The military museum building is over here, actually somewhere around here, but over there the Tudor buildings actually represent some sort of office or something. Unfortunately, that building is not even the military museum, it's just some office as well. And over here is the inner Stamboul Gate. It is actually an iconic part of the Belgrade Fortress. I'm actually inside the fortress now, and basically the military museum is somewhere inside the Belgrade Fortress. So basically this is the inner Stamboul Gate here. Basically, due to the fact a previous gate was actually destroyed during the mid-18th century, basically from around 1740 during Turkish rule, this inner Stamboul Gate was actually built on the side of the Austrian gate. So why not, I'm actually going to look for the military museum. And basically if you were to cross the gate, you would actually see some tanks and artillery weapons and stuff. Basically, you know, this is actually the military museum over here. So why not, I'm actually going to go into the military museum to find out what it is all about. Basically, I heard it is quite affordable as well, at around 350 RSD. And over here it is, after several minutes of looking for it. As you can see, I'm now currently in the museum, and over here it does start out from basically the ancient ages over here. As you can see, Illyrian warrior, Celtic warrior and stuff. And then if you were to go in here, it will start delving into the Middle Ages. Basically, like as you can see, year 626, which is really long ago, in fact, more than 1,000 years ago. Basically, you do see like weapons from the medieval era and stuff. Basically, a lot more simplistic weapons, up until the point where you see like the Byzantines and the Ottomans. As you can see, these are actually middle-aged swords and stuff. And as you can see over here, you actually reach the 14th century. And this is an example of an Ottoman warrior. Basically, as you guys know, the Serbs were actually Orthodox Christians, and therefore they're against the Ottomans and stuff, and they want to fight against them. And here are some swords from basically the Renaissance era. And basically, as you can see, this is actually what the Turkish army would look like during the 16th century. And this is actually one of the 16th century ships. And basically over here are weapons from the 17th and 18th century, far more advanced than during the Middle Ages and stuff. And this, I do believe, is actually a Serb of some sort. And over here is the 19th century. Basically, you do see a lot more advanced weapons and stuff. And if you were to go all the way here, you would actually see the rebellion of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Basically, even more advanced rifles and stuff. And if you were to see this guy, Milan Obrenovic, he was actually the founder of this museum. This museum was actually opened in 1878. And just a few years before World War II is actually the Balkan Wars. Basically, the Balkan countries did fight each other until Yugoslavia was actually formed just after World War I. And do you actually know this person? This person is actually Gavrilo Princip. He actually killed Archduke Franz Ferdinand at the Latin Bridge in Sarajevo. And basically Gavrilo Princip, because of the assassination, he essentially invoked World War I. As you can see, basically these are some of the weapons used during World War I. And this is actually an engine from a plane in World War I. Basically, these are some people's equipment during World War I, and when World War I ended, basically the state of Yugoslavia was actually founded. Basically, after World War I, Yugoslavia was actually founded, and these are actually the uniforms for the Yugoslav army. And basically, after this, you would enter the World War II section. Basically, Yugoslavia, the kingdom, did actually join the Axis powers in 1941, and the independent state of Croatia was actually founded during a time which was actually a totalitarian regime. In fact, basically allied with like Nazis and the fascists and stuff. Basically, as you can see, these are some materials in World War II. And if you were to go past this section, you would actually see vastly superior weapons and stuff. Basically a lot of assault rifles and different types of cannon guns and stuff, machine guns. Basically, this is a map of Europe during World War II. Basically, you could actually see numerous camps, including Auschwitz and Buchenwald and stuff, Dachau, basically all the major camps, like concentration camps where many of the Jews were actually exterminated. And you would actually see some capitals of Europe as well. Basically, even Ankara, Turkey, as well as Moscow. And if you were to see on the Russian side, you would actually see a lot of tanks and military guards and stuff. And I do think the Yugoslavian socialists actually did align with the Soviet Union and against the kingdom. Basically, Josip Broz Tito actually formed a resistance against the kingdom of Yugoslavia. And over here, essentially first aid kits for World War II. And a very long walk later, you would actually reach the end of World War II. And you would actually see the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. Basically, here are some of the weapons and the uniform for the People's Army. As you can see, basically, here are some other uniforms. And I think this is one of the emblems here. Basically, it's the Russian Federation's flag of victory. And if you were to see over here, the various capitals of the Socialist republics. Basically, I don't know what Titograd meant. Well, for the fact, Titograd was actually the former name of the capital of Montenegro, Podgorica. And lastly, this is the disintegration of Yugoslavia. Over here, I do believe is a military uniform. Actually, it is a beret with UN badge, as well as a uniform of a JNA soldier. Basically, a Yugoslavian uniform here. And over here is a UN flag, of course. And if you were to see, these are some of the military equipment during the 90s, including, you guessed it, a computer, as well as this. Basically, you just see a lot more modern equipment. And this is actually used in the war against Bosnia, as you can see over here. And basically, all of these were actually taken during the late 90s. And basically, this is actually what the army looked like in 1999, the very end of the 20th century, and we're at the end now. I just left the military museum. It has a lot of content ranging from like the medieval era all the way into the late 90s, and I do believe this is actually a Humvee used for the Bosnian War and the Yugoslav War. And why not, I'm actually going to go down, and the last place I'm actually going to go in the Belgrade Fortress before spending too much time over here, basically nearly 2 hours in the Belgrade Fortress, is actually the Despot's Gate before actually going to Ružica Church. Basically, as you can see, the fortress is very vast. However, it would actually close in less than an hour over here. As you can see, there's a lot in the fortress, yes. There's basically an inner and outer fortress, essentially. It is absolutely crazy how big it actually is. But there's a lot to do in here, anyways. I'm now on the other side of the fortress, and over here is a statue of Despot Stefan Lazarevic. And why not, I'm actually going to go down the Despot's Gate down there. Basically, you could actually see it from all the way here. But before going through the gate, why not, I'm actually going to go up here to see the scenery of Belgrade. Basically, who knows, I could see the new town. But as you can see, this is actually the fortress here. And as you can see, the scenery is absolutely spectacular. You could actually see the river Sava and Danube, as well as the new town of Belgrade. And that is actually, I do believe, the lower town over there of the Belgrade Fortress. So why not, I'm actually going to go through the Despot's Gate. Basically, this is the Despot Gate, and this is actually the only gate which is preserved in its original state. And I do believe this is one of the more iconic gates inside the Belgrade Fortress. Now over here is the other side of the Despot's Gate. I'm now getting outside the fortress entirely. But as you can see, it is quite iconic. It would actually close in about 10 minutes, unfortunately, so I do have to leave. Even if it's like 17 o'clock now, which is still quite early, I do have to leave. And basically, I'm going to enter the church. I finally left the Belgrade Fortress, and this is the very iconic Zindin Gate, which was actually built between 1440 and 1456, when basically cold weapons were actually switched over to artillery. Basically, you could actually see two symmetrical buildings, and it did underwent several transformations. So why not, I'm actually going to go to Ružica Church. Basically, if you could see over there, it's actually Ružica Church, which I do believe is down there. Basically, this church is dedicated to the Nativity of Mary, and it was actually built during the early 15th century, but was actually remodeled in 1869 and then reconstructed in 1925. After several minutes trying to find the entry, I finally found the entry, and here is actually the church. And over here is actually the Orthodox Church. Unfortunately, you have to be very, very quiet because this is actually a religious place. But as you can see, basically, there are a lot of design ornaments and stuff, details. And it's majestic in its own way, but as you can see, there are actually a lot of religious figures up there, basically as frescoes and stuff. But why not, I'm actually going to go out now. I now just left the Orthodox Church, and why not, I'm actually going to head to another Orthodox Church. There are actually two major Orthodox churches other than this Ružica's one. One of them is St. Mark, and the other is dedicated to Sava. So why not, I'm actually going to these two. I'm now on my way out of the Belgrade Fortress, and over here is actually a zoo called the Belgrade Zoo, but I've visited countless zoos in my life. Basically the Berlin Zoo notably, as well as even the Saigon Zoo, so why not, I'm just gonna skip it for now. Okay guys, I'm either waiting for the bus 79 or streetcar 2 to actually get to St. Mark's Church. As you can see, this is what the street looks like over here. I'm now going to St. Mark's Church now. Okay guys, I'm finally on the bus now. I'm actually going to see you guys when I arrive at the St. Mark's Orthodox Church. I've just now left the bus, and as you can see, it does say Kosovo is Serbian. Basically, I do think it is something to do with Serbian nationalism. Basically some anti-Kosovo sentiment over here. After about 5 minutes walking, I finally arrived at the St. Mark's Orthodox Church, which is dedicated to the Holy Apostle and Mark the Evangelist. And over there, if you can't see, is actually the National Assembly. Basically, this is next to the Parliament. And the St. Mark's Orthodox Church, fun facts, it is built in the Serbo-Byzantine style. And it was actually completed in 1940, so quite recent. Basically, as you can see, you might not see it well, but over there is the Orthodox Church, and the Orthodox Church actually sits right on Tasmajdan Park, which is one of the main parks of Belgrade. Basically, I'm going to walk through there just to go to the Nikola Tesla Museum. And another fun fact is, basically, this church was built on a site of a former church, which is much smaller. After about 2 minutes going through the small white and green Russian church, I finally got to the entrance of the St. Mark's Orthodox Church, which is actually in the south side over here. And over here is actually the Tasmajdan Park, which I'm actually going to go through before actually going to, you guessed it, the Nikola Tesla Museum. Even though Nikola Tesla was neither born nor dead in Serbia. Unfortunately, I could not record nor take pictures at the St. Mark's Orthodox Church. I'm scared my video might get taken down if I were to post pictures of it. So you could actually look at images of the interior yourself, but it is quite magnificent inside with all the frescoes and stuff, basically ornate details. Kind of like with the other Catholic churches throughout Europe I visited so far, but unfortunately I cannot record. And over there is actually the smaller Russian church I've been talking about. But if you could see, over there is actually the entrance. Now I'm actually going to go via the Tasmajdan Park all the way to the Nikola Tesla Museum. Basically, this park is actually where the St. Mark's Orthodox Church is. It was first opened in 1958, and just several years ago it's seen the largest construction, actually reconstruction, to its date, around 2020. So basically here it is. It is actually not located in Stari Grad, it is located in Povlila. As you can see, this is actually the park, and the surrounding neighborhood is also called Tasmajdan as well. So basically, you just see a lot of green space, just like really any park in a city, kind of like Boston Common or something. But I do not think this is as big as the Kalemegdan Park, the one where the fortress is. I'm now halfway between the St. Mark's Orthodox Church and of course the Nikola Tesla Museum. I'm now currently in the Tasmajdan Park now. I'm actually going to see you guys when I'm at the Nikola Tesla Museum, but this is just any straight old park. But in fact, there are a lot of unleashed dogs, which make me kind of worry. Because in Vietnam, I was basically chased by dogs and was nearly attacked. And guess what? I was actually nearly attacked when I was like 8 or 9 years old, many years ago. After several minutes walking from the Tasmajdan Park, I finally arrived at the Nikola Tesla Museum over here. Nikola Tesla, fun fact, he's never actually lived in Serbia. He's only stayed in Serbia for 1 day. However, he's actually an ethnic Serb, and when he visited Serbia in 1892, basically Serbia has basically like transformed from like being some agrarian backwater to being some more industrialized society. So basically here it is. This is actually his museum. Fun facts about Nikola Tesla: he actually was born in Croatia as an ethnic Serb in a small village, and then he actually moved to the US, where he actually died in New York City. Basically, due to the fact that Nikola Tesla Museum is actually organized by tour time rather than you can go in whenever you want. Therefore, I'm actually going to eat at Savčić over here. Basically, this restaurant, Savčić restaurant. I do have 1200 RSD to pay because I do have to save money for the hotel. Basically, I did withdraw 8,000 and I did pay around 800 for the museum. So basically here it is. This is the restaurant here, and I will actually eat Serbian food. Why not? Basically, after a few minutes, this is actually my meal. I'm actually going to show you guys what my meal is. It is basically cevapi, 10 pieces, basically for 730 dinar, which is quite a good deal, especially for Serbian food. The one I'm actually going to eat, and then I'm actually going to go to the museum. I'm thinking of only eating this because I'm planning to save money for tomorrow's lunch. Okay guys, I just entered the Tesla Museum. It is now 8 p.m. and I'm actually going to watch a video for a bit, basically with these people, so I cannot record at this moment after the video starts. 3, 2, 1.
first time I moved around the back and propeller will stop working. Sometimes it has problems. So from that, now it
Basically, after 30 minutes of watching the video as well as the experiments, I'm finally free to go. And basically, here's Tesla's journey from the very beginning. First off, he was actually born in a small village called Smujan in Croatia to a Serbian family in 1856. And then he actually studied in Graz at university as well as Charles University in Prague. Afterwards, in 1882, he was actually employed by Continental Edison Company, but then many entrepreneurs did not really approve of his plan because it was too ahead of the time. So he basically moved to New York, basically around 2 years after in 1884, to actually start a new life in the US. And then, after a while, basically around 1893, he actually invented alternating current, and an entrepreneur named Charles Westinghouse actually proposed his idea to the Chicago World Fair. Basically, his alternating current power plant even got to Niagara Falls, which actually fueled the second industrial revolution. And even though Nikola Tesla never won a Nobel Prize of any kind, he actually did have more than 300 patents to his name by the time he died in 1943. And also he has more than 1,000 sketches by the time of his death. Basically over here is a suit that Nikola Tesla actually wore, and some of these are actually his other patents. As you can see, basically he does create a ton of patents, like just like I said, at least 300, which is absolutely insane. Over here is Nikola Tesla's portrait, and if you want to see over here, this is actually a ball of some type. It is actually this containing Nikola Tesla's ashes over here. And basically the people here all predate Nikola Tesla, and they're all innovators to some extent, especially Benjamin Franklin, who's well known. And two other well-known people include Alessandro Giuseppe Antonio Anastasio Volta and Michael Faraday. And some of these are of course Nikola Tesla's patents on paper. And these are some more, including this, which is actually a model of the induction motor with an egg-shaped rotor, better known as Teslas of Columbus. Basically, the video did show about this. And last up here are some more electric motors. And due to the fact there's no upstairs, this is my last part. Basically, this is his hometown, Smujan, Croatia. Basically, after my tour of the Tesla Museum, I'm currently on a streetcar now. I'm planning to return to the hotel. I paid another 120 RSD for basically a whole day, which is absolutely crazy. For a whole day, basically just over $1. Basically a lot cheaper than in Boston, where they charge like $11 per day. Okay guys, I'm basically back at my hotel. I'm actually gonna sleep, and then I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow. Basically, the last part of the video will be tomorrow until maybe about 2 o'clock, 2:30, when I do have to leave for the bus station, so I can get to Skopje in Macedonia. Okay guys, good morning. Basically, this is my very last day in Belgrade. I'm actually going to go to Skopje this evening, so I'm actually going to end the video basically around 2 p.m. so I can get on the metro to the, you guessed it, the bus station. I just now arrived in Stari Grad, and specifically this is Skadarlija, basically the Bohemian quarter of Belgrade, which includes archaic urban architecture and ambience and stuff. And since 1967, it has been included in this Serbian cultural registry, just like with the Kneza Mihaila, as well as several others, including the Belgrade Fortress. So over here it is. As you can see, the roads are quite cobbled. This is the second most visited attraction, only after the Belgrade Fortress. And over here it is, Skadarlija, basically the Bohemian quarter of Belgrade. Basically, as you can see, I do believe this is actually a Zastava of some sort. Actually, a Zastava 750L. It is not the Yugo, but as you can see, the roads are quite cobbled, basically making this kind of an archaic road with basically traditional architecture and stuff in Serbia. So when I'm actually going to look for a restaurant here. Now, due to the fact I'm currently in Skadarlija, I'm actually going to eat at the Tri Sesira restaurant over here. Basically one of the most famous restaurants in all of Belgrade. Basically, after some time waiting at this very famous restaurant, Tri Sesira, I finally got this meal. Basically, I paid around 1360 RSD, which is about $12.60 on this, which is basically mixed meat. I do think it's quite a good deal, especially at this famous restaurant. It might be expensive compared to food in Serbia, but in reality, if compared with the US, this is really affordable. And especially given this is a famous restaurant, I do believe this is a very, very good value. So why not, I'm actually going to eat, and then I'm going to go to the Temple of St Sava. After eating, I'm actually going to go to the Temple of St Sava over here. As you can see, this is actually the Trg Republike, basically the Republic Square. And as you can see, the difference between yesterday and today is, you guessed it, everything's empty here. Instead of actually having construction fences, everything is actually removed, so this is what you get now. Okay guys, basically after a while I did finally arrive on the bus. I'm gonna see you guys at the St Sava temple. After about 15 minutes I finally arrived at the Temple of St Sava. I'm not sure where the entrance is, but it might be on the opposite side. But here it is, the iconic Temple of St Sava in Belgrade. Basically just like the St Mark's Orthodox Church, the Temple of St Sava, their entrance is over here actually. Basically at the other side, basically in my case the right side of the cathedral. And if you were to go in, you'll be greeted with this. I'm sorry Job to be quiet because this is a church. But it's absolutely gorgeous inside. It is absolutely gorgeous, even more so than the St. Mark's Orthodox Church. Not only in the outside, but also in the inside as well. Basically with all these immaculate frescoes and stuff, it is absolutely gorgeous, just like many top European cathedrals. But as you can see, it is actually in the Orthodox style here. Basically, this church actually sits on a Vračar plateau, and it is actually named after Saint Sava, who was actually the founder of the Serbian Orthodox Church. Well, this church was actually built on the site of Saint Sava's grave. Basically, construction of this Orthodox cathedral actually started in 1935, yes, and it actually finished in 2004, the year when it was actually consecrated. Basically, very recently, only 20 years ago. Which is absolutely insane. Basically, this church would have looked really old, but in reality, it is actually newer than you think. In fact, the church is actually 91 by 81 by 78. That's basically what I meant was the length, width, and height. Basically, the interior is full of gold, having 12,000 square meters worth of gold, and it could actually fit 7,000 people inside. Basically, this is one of the biggest churches in the whole world, and it actually resembles the Hagia Sophia in terms of design. And another fun fact is, not only is it the largest Orthodox church in Serbia, it is basically one of the largest Orthodox churches in the world. Basically, only after the People's Salvation Cathedral in Bucharest, the St. Isaac's Cathedral in St. Petersburg, as well as the Hagia Sophia in Turkey, which is actually in Istanbul. Basically, this St. Sava is actually the 4th biggest Orthodox church in the world. And another fun fact is, it is actually built in the Neo-Byzantine style. Basically, I do have 2 hours remaining, and therefore I'm gonna spend some time, basically less than an hour, at the Museum of Yugoslavia, so I could be able to get on the bus. And over here is the Orthodox Church. I'm actually gonna say goodbye to it, and then go to Museum of Yugoslavia. Basically, in my opinion, Belgrade is quite an awesome city. There are a lot of things to do, and the museums are very affordable, in fact. In fact, I don't even need a Belgrade pass, but I could still spend well below my budget set, which is absolutely insane. And many attractions, in fact, free even. Not only are there a lot to do, there are also a lot to eat as well. It is a cosmopolitan city, just like with Warsaw, and also there's a mall. Albeit not as cool as the Zloty Tarasi, but it's quite cool nonetheless. Basically, I do love Belgrade and I might miss the city. Basically, there's just a lot of things to do here. After a while, I did arrive at what seemed to be like a Soviet neighborhood. And here it is, the Museum of Yugoslavia. Basically, the very last museum I'm going before I do have to catch a bus all the way to, you guessed it, Skopje in Macedonia. Basically, now I'm in the Yugoslavian Museum and I'm planning to go to the old museum first before heading towards the new museum. The tickets basically cost 600 RSD, which is a bit less than $6, which is about the same as many smaller meals. So it is quite affordable. But as you can see, I'm now climbing up the stairs. But unfortunately, in the old museum, they do not allow recording, so I cannot record. Basically, after some time, the museum, I did leave the museum, and here is the garden over here. It is absolutely gorgeous. Basically, the museum does not allow any recording, so I cannot record, but they do talk a lot in this building about the history of Yugoslavia, basically from before World War I all the way into World War II, into the Socialist Federal Republic, and even shows about like basically like gifts sent to Josip Broz Tito, basically from the Yugoslav residents all the way to like embellishments, as well as basically different materials and items used during the socialist times. Basically it includes TVs, computers and guns and stuff. Basically everything. It basically covers the history of Yugoslavia, just this building alone. But as you can see, this is actually the garden here. And even though over here is a garden, if you were to walk into this building, you would actually see the House of Flowers. Basically in here you would see a lot of flowers, and it also talks about the comrade Josip Broz Tito, who was actually born in 1892 in what is today Croatia. Basically he was wounded as a soldier in World War I, and then basically after World War I he basically joined the Yugoslav Communist Party, which was actually soon banned, and he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. And during World War II he actually fought against the Kingdom of Yugoslavia, basically with the Allies. And after World War II, when he founded Yugoslavia, the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, he basically sought to make Yugoslavia socialist, but he did not actually align with the Soviet Union. In fact, Yugoslavia is actually quote-unquote third world, which meant non-aligned. Basically he died in 1980. Basically when Josip Broz Tito actually died, many countries did have delegates who actually visit, you guessed it, Josip Broz Tito's funeral. Basically, except Albania, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and maybe several more places like Bhutan and Laos and stuff. Basically, if you could see over here is actually Josip Broz Tito's grave. This is actually his laying place, and this is actually his spouse's laying place, Jovanka Broz. You might think this is his child because she's basically more than 30 years younger than Tito, but no, she's basically the spouse. Basically, I just left the House of Flowers, and this is actually the other side of the museum, which also includes a lot of things, but I could not really go into that part of the museum because I do have to catch a bus to Skopje, Macedonia. So basically, I'm gonna see you guys at the bus station. Basically, after a while, I did finally arrive on the bus. Unfortunately, I did have to pay 220 dinars to even exit the bus station. Basically, a tax imposed. Even after buying the bus tickets already, you do have to pay to leave the bus station, which is absolutely crazy. But in reality, I did buy this, which is actually my dinner, for about 300 dinars, which is a bit less than $3, which it could make up for any cost I have exiting the bus station, which is hilarious. I've never really seen it. But in reality, I would really miss Belgrade, because Belgrade is quite affordable. It has a lot of things to do, and also a lot of very famous historical figures, as well as being the center of Yugoslavia. So basically I would really miss it, just like I did to Warsaw, basically because Warsaw is part of the EU, has like really adequate public transit and stuff, and very reliable public transit, and I could choose either cash or card, with the exception of the Nikola Tesla Museum and my hotel accommodation. So thank you guys for watching. Please give a big thumbs up, subscribe for more videos, and I'm gonna see you guys soon.